So first of all, I noticed that this whole conference has been very much about reframing. It's come up again and again, and I really wish that I hadn't had my hands full and I could have taken notes and referred to many of the different instances of reframing that have been mentioned. And I'm glad we'll be able to go back and review this whole conference and get a grip on them. I want to talk about reframing for truth, stepping back to see the big picture. Right here, this is what industry and regulators do with their framing. They use narrow, close-in focus that removes the context and provides no reference points. Now, is that a painting about water lilies? Is it a painting about the sky and the trees? Is it a painting about a bridge? Well, we don't really know until we look at the whole picture. So just as we understand that drilling is all about cumulative impacts, we have to step back, help people step back and look at the bigger picture every time we confront one of these cases of segmentation where the industry or the regulators try to narrow it down to some little tiny thing and tell us that we can manage this or that. So we all have heard this lots today. We know how true that is. Here's another I think something that we really need to keep in mind, because we keep getting confronted over and over again. It's such a theme that you are going up against what is really an economic blessing. Well, we have to keep reminding ourselves that is just not true. And I love this quote that came from a recent article about the BP spill in Louisiana. It was an Outside magazine, and I'm going to read it. What Louisiana does supply is cheap labor and a pliant local government. In this, it's eerily reminiscent of third world places ruined by oil. The BPs of the world would have you believe oil brings prosperity to the countries where it's discovered, but it brings misery so dependably that economists have a name for the phenomenon, the resource curse. And I think those are three words that we really need to think about and put at the forefront of our consciousness so that we don't constantly feel on the defensive about challenging the economic claims. Another case of reframing for ourselves. Yeah, we have to answer people's questions. We have to be able to cogently, coherently, authoritatively answer many of their questions about all those little things. But we still have to try to always remember for ourselves, this industrial invasion is crazy. And there's somebody somewhere who knows it's crazy and is trying to put it over on us anyway. And we should just not let ourselves forget it. Make sure that we don't let the industry tell us that it can be managed, that we could choose degrees to which it might happen, and that we could maybe find some kind of balance between the countervailing needs. We've all seen these. I won't even spend much time on them. This is how the industry reframes. No one will tell me what to do on my land. We need drilling to alleviate our poverty. This is a class war. We need energy independence. Industry can be trusted to do what's right. New York has the best regulations in the nation. So I only have a few minutes, so really can't spend much time on any of this. But I do like to ask people when they say things like that, just wait, when the industry gets firmly ensconced on your property and the DEC is compulsorily integrating you, well, is it then okay for somebody else to tell you what to do on your land? You have the choice now. You won't have the choice later. The big picture. Has it been a lack of resource extraction that created our poverty? It's very difficult to manipulate and exploit people who are prosperous. We're in a desperate economic situation because it's been deliberately imposed on us, because we have something that somebody else wants. So the powers that be make sure that we get into a situation where we really have, we feel that the majority possibly be persuaded to feel that we have no choice but to accept their options. So to give in to them is to give in. Why wouldn't we want to stand firm and not let ourselves, not let that play out the way they designed it to? The class war thing, that was dealt with a little bit earlier. But again, try to draw people out to see the big picture. Look at all your neighbors. They're probably not breaking out across the spectrum the way that the Dick Downeys would like us to believe. In gas drilling, I've seen a tremendous diversity across all kinds of income and education levels in terms of opposition. And we can definitely find all those common ground situations with all those different kinds of people and create a dynamic and diverse opposition. I just like to ask you, who says so, and what's in it for them, and why do you believe them? Anytime somebody tells you that these industries really want to stay in business for a long time and everything, they're going to look after you because they have a reputation to maintain. Just ask them to provide you with a single example. New York has the best regulations in the nation. Again, ask them, flip it around. Who says so? Have you read them? And in fact, New York has very sketchy regulations, and they have resisted recommendations to improve them since at least 1994. And Brian has some really good information on that I think we're not going to have time to talk about, but it's really quite remarkable, and I think that we'll soon start, you'll see that the movement, I really expect, will start to make great use of this report that is done by Stronger Inc. As it becomes public. Now, we are talking about all this big picture stuff, but Maura Stevens, who is really into reframing, and I were talking the other day, and she said CPNY is really trying to get people to think in terms of the big picture, the corporatism, and how the whole system is set up to manipulate us. And she said they wound up having to kind of pull back and go back to just focusing on fracking because they found that a lot of their audience wasn't able to really absorb the big picture. So just like the industry does, we have to do we have to also break all these big picture things down into little assimilable pieces that people can take on one at a time, and slowly, like a puzzle, we'll build them the big picture. Reframing with single words and phrases. This has been a discussion for a long time, and I don't know that anybody ever has come up with a really great alternative for natural gas, but I'll put petromethane out there as one possible alternative. Reframing, again, with single words and phrases, the Saudi Arabia of natural gas. This is not going to be the Saudi Arabia of natural gas. This is going to be the new Appalachia, North Appalachia. In everybody's consciousness, Appalachia means poverty and exploitation, and that's how we need to turn this in that direction. I didn't make that up. That's Lisa Bracken, who you might know from Gasland. Very funny lady, and we were talking a long time ago, and I'm pretty sure that boondoggle came from her. And it's so appropriate because it is a boondoggle if there ever was one. This guy is going to take everybody's tax dollars and try to create a market for his product, which then will run out because of the tremendously increased rate of usage, and then we'll all be sitting there with all those filling stations and nothing to run through them. Call it what it is. Don't accept the industry terms, and remember that it's actually not all about water. The NGOs, we've talked about them a lot today, and they frame gas drilling as an environmental problem or a water issue, but we know that there's a large segment of the population for whom the environment is those trees far, far away. That's not, I don't live in the environment. I live in town. I live on a small plot. None of that stuff really is relevant to me on a day-to-day basis. So, and if they don't think their water is going to be, if they think they live in a watershed that's going to be protected or whatever, we have to turn it from it being an environmental issue and a water issue to how they will be affected. For instance, somebody who's on a farm, let's just say that a couple of dairy farms go out of business because they've become industrialized. Well, there was a story not very long ago, I'm pretty sure it was at Otsego County, where a dairy farm was forced out of business because the milk processing plant closed because enough other dairy farmers had already gone out of business. Then there was no longer the volume that was necessary to keep the plant in operation, and now even those who wanted to stay farming could not farm anymore. So to me, this is why Calvin Tillman is so useful. He's so fantastic. He's a great bridge because he helps people understand that their lifestyle is at risk. It's not just about that nebulous environment out there somewhere. I just heard a radio interview. It wasn't about fracking. It was about preventative health. But I just thought it was so interesting. The guy was saying that 15% of people out there are willing to take preventative measures to maintain their health, but 85% say, I'm fine today, chances are I'll be fine tomorrow. And so I think this was also dealt with earlier, helping people to visualize the future and anticipate what's going to happen. I want to share with you some good examples of things we can draw on to frame. These are conversations that I've had with people. This is my mechanic. I was just talking to him the other day. I'm not sure he finished high school, and he's telling me, if they're not telling you what's in it, it's got to be bad. Mark is another mechanic. Around here, we don't have a lot, but we don't need a lot either. He was very skeptical about, he's a big landowner, and he wasn't jumping at the chance to lease. Joe is my computer guy, and he did not actually say it's the environment, stupid. He was talking about a letter he'd read in the Oneonta Daily Star, and the letter had been just exactly what we've been trying to do, is move the discussion over to the economy. And Joe said, he shouldn't have done that. He should have stuck with the environment because, there are these positive arguments about the economy, but there's no positive argument about the environment. And so this is a guy who actually told me to stop sending him stuff several years ago when he's got breathing issues, so I sent him some air quality information related to gas drilling, and he sent me back this email and said, don't send me any more of that stuff ever again. And now he's coming in and he's telling me, it's the environment. Keep talking about the environment. We have done great things. We have changed the way the mainstream media talks about natural gas, and that in turn is changing the way people on the street think about it. And so we have to keep on doing that. Big picture equals perspective and history. And I'm done.
Hi everyone, my name is Lindsay Spear. I'm a community organizer on environmental issues up in Syracuse, New York. I work on behalf of the Onondaga Nation with a bunch of local environmental groups and community groups. So, first of all, how many people here have heard of Twitter? Okay, got that down. How many people use Twitter? Okay, only 2 in the room. How many people here have cell phones with text messaging? That looks better. Did you know that Twitter, you can use Twitter without even going online? You can do it straight from your phone with text messaging. And I've got more directions on that, and I'm happy to email those around through the organizers later on. So Twitter is used both on computers and on cell phones. And as people are probably aware, it actually played a pretty big role with a number of other new media things like Facebook in some of the revolutions we're seeing in the Middle East. It's a person-to-person communication that really allows people to know what's going on almost real time. When we were at the Earthworks conference in Pittsburgh last year, I was taking some of the salient points that we were listening to and actually tweeting it out to the world. And there are other people who are tweeting on fracking. A lot of them are some of our mainstream NGOs, But they're also out there tweeting on fracking, and they picked up some of those and retweeted them. And it's that retweeting where someone takes what you wrote, said, oh, I like that, and sends it on to their network of people that makes the difference. So Twitter, a lot of people think of Twitter and they think of like the teenagers are all twittering, right? Twitter is best used not to just talk to your friends. Actually, it's really ineffective at talking to your friends. It's best used to promote ideas and to share ideas. A lot of the bloggers out there in the blogosphere have gone to twittering because it's a way to just get ideas out there real fast. The challenge is to get your ideas in 140 characters or less. What this works for us is that makes it that we have to have very nice, succinct points to why we want to ban. And what you can do is you can write that very succinct point, and you can put a link to the backup information of why that point is relevant. And then you can get it out there to the world. So, what I'm going to suggest is that we build a campaign using the hashtag #BanFracking. Hashtags are the pound sign and then the word. And what that does is it allows people to then search for that later on, or it can come up as a trend. And in doing so, we can actually collect all those different things that people are saying, all those different reasons for banning fracking. I'm also suggesting people use the hashtag energy, because there's a lot more people blogging out there and twittering out there on energy than there are on fracking right now. And if we can get energy as a hashtag, it bumps up the whole conversation into the national level. I know we're focusing on New York State, but if we have the national media paying attention and we have people nationwide paying attention, it can't hurt. So the format that I'm going to propose, like I said, you have the reason, a real quick statement, and then a link that explains the reason, ban fracking as a hashtag, and then a link to your favorite online petition of choice. I was hoping that someone here would actually really promote an online petition that was really solidly good for a ban, and I don't know of one right now. I know there's a Care 2 petition that's been going around, and I know some people had some concerns about that one. So if people know of a good website for the ban petition, on naturalgas.org, okay, so let's use that one. And you can use shorteners to make that URL shortened. So as you can see here, here's one of my reasons. Because shale gas methane emissions are far worse than coal for the climate. And that's linked to our study. I used a URL shortener on it, so it doesn't look like what you expect, but it makes it short so it can fit in the Twitter. Ban fracking, and then a link to a petition. And if you can fit in energy at the end, great. If not, just go with ban fracking. And so what we can do is on all of our different groups' websites that are working for a ban, Twitter allows you to create a real-time feed. You basically put in the search term that you're looking for and some settings that you want it to look like. And what it'll do is it will create the HTML code for you just to plug straight into your website. We use, for Shale Shock CNY, we've got a Weebly website, which is a what you see is what you get web editor online. It's really basic, but what it does allow is custom HTML to be put into it. So it's cut and paste. It's really easy, and it shows up, and then it's going to sit there, and unfortunately, because this is a PowerPoint, I'm not connected to the internet, you don't see it scrolling. But it will continue to scroll through all of the different things that people have posted with that hashtag. So a couple of recommendations, keys to using Twitter. The first thing you have to do is get followers when you get on there. And you do that by following other people. You do that by tweeting, because if you don't put anything out there, no one's going to pay attention to you because you're boring. But also, when you see things that you like, that people are saying, retweet them, because what it will automatically do is let someone know that you've retweeted what they said, and they said, oh, this person likes what I'm saying, maybe I should pay attention to what they're saying. And by doing that, you collect a whole bunch of followers. The other thing to do is use the hashtag #FF. And that's Follow Friday. You do it on Fridays. You basically do that to all the people you think are cool on Twitter, and they'll know that you think that they're cool, and then it's one of those mutually patting each other on the back things. But it actually works to build networks, because you'll see your friends do that for a whole bunch of people, and like, oh, who are these people? And you go and look what they're twittering about, and it's kind of interesting. Don't think you have to read all the Twitters that come across. Someone described it recently as it's like dipping into a stream. You go take a sip at one point, you figure out what's going on, you walk away and go do the rest of your life, and the stream keeps flowing past, and every so often you check in again. Most of what goes by on Twitter, you'll see it again online, you'll see it in other places. But it is a way to get things out there. A couple other things, 140 characters or less, but don't succumb to the using funny acronyms like B4 instead of before. That's a kind of teenager thing to do, and it makes them really illegible. So if you want to get your point across, use English. Just be really creative and what you're saying and how you can say it to keep it short. Then you shorten your URLs and follow me, and I'll follow you, and then we can keep building our networks. So mine is @careoftheearth on Twitter. And you don't have to do it on your cell phone. You can also do it online. It's a free account. It's really easy. And dip your toe in, give it a try, and use this. The main thing to do is when you come across something that makes you like, geez, this is why we have to ban fracking, put it on Twitter. Okay, so that's the Twitter bit. And again, this is the point of this is to collect all these different reasons, because when you have that thing plugged into your website where all the different hashtags come up, you will that say ban fracking, it will actually allow you, we'll have this ongoing list of all the reasons to ban fracking.